Christine Randolph, and I am going to do Christian Conversations tonight. It's not really, give me one second. Give me one moment. Anyway, it's not really conversation tonight. We actually had the conversation last night, but we couldn't record it because we didn't have all the pieces we needed where we were. So Vincent, our pastor, has asked me to teach it again tonight. We are doing the 5 apology languages. Now, a lot of you probably know about the 5 love languages, but you probably don't know about the 5 apology languages. Also by Gary Chapman, but he also has a co-author of Jennifer Thomas, and I've put that in the title of this message, the 5 apology languages by Chapman and Thomas. And we are, if you'll give me one second, so we are teaching on this because February is usually our relationship month. It's the one that we do, it's a month where we do things pertaining to relationships. You know, that's why we taught on the 5 love languages. Now we're teaching on the 5 apology languages. And it's just stuff to help not just those that are married, but also those that are single. And it's more of a relationship and not just a spousal relationship that we're trying to help. Again, if you'll just give me one moment. There we go. Okay, I just need to get this to the church. Okay. So anyway, the conversation last night was actually very good. I'm keeping my glasses on even though it has a little bit of a glare, only because I can actually see, well, I guess I can look at it on my phone, turn the volume down on my phone, and I want to be able to see any comments that you have. So I'll be checking, I can see that when they appear up here, but I'll be actually reading them down here so that I can see them and you guys can see me without the glare of the lights and such. Well, maybe not because I can't see my notes. Okay. So the basic of righting wrongs. Without apologies, anger escalates and we end up seeking revenge. Without apologies, people go off into the wrong mindset. They should be doing more. I mean, without apologies, their anger builds and it builds and it builds, and then you build resentment, and then you build bitterness, and then you build unforgiveness, and it just escalates and escalates and escalates. And eventually you do seek revenge if somebody does not apologize to you. Now, of course, we know that the Bible says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So if you really are a Christian, you will learn to forgive and let the Lord deal with the person who's hurt you. But love often means apologizing over and over and over again. If you love somebody, if you feel like this person is important to you, you will apologize to them over and over and over again. But there are times where you may apologize to somebody and you think it's sufficient, but when you guys talk about it later, they say, well, you never apologized. Well, yeah, I did. I said I was sorry. Well, no, that's not an apology to me. So that's where these 5 apology languages come into play. And of course, Gary Chapman and Jennifer Thomas have counseled people over the years, and they have come up with these 5 apology languages. Apology language 1 is I'm sorry, or expressing regret. Expressing regret means you are sincerely sorry for hurting the other person. You identify with their pain and you are sorry that your actions caused their pain. You may not have intended to hurt them. And that's something to remember. This has nothing to do with intent. There have been many times when somebody has said something to me or done something to me, and I have said, and then I've come back to them and said, that really hurt me. And they were like, well, that wasn't my intent. At this point, it doesn't matter if that was your intent or not. You hurt the other person, and therefore you should apologize for hurting the other person, and should apologize sincerely. When you do this, you acknowledge their feelings. I used an example of Vincent and myself where we would be arguing, and then afterwards, or we wouldn't argue, but we would have a disagreement about something, and he would say something, and I would be like, and then later I would come back to him and say, well, the way you said this hurt me. And he was like, but that wasn't my intent. And I'm like, but it hurt me. You know, and we would go back and forth about that wasn't his intent, but it hurt me. And so then I began to wonder, so are you telling me my feelings are invalid? In that case, you know, when he says, no, I'm sorry that I hurt you, that to me is good enough in those situations. But there are times where, maybe not necessarily with Vincent, but you know, there are times when I expect more, and there are times when you expect more. But you may not have intended to hurt them, but you should still say I'm sorry, because you are acknowledging their feelings. You are saying that you matter to me and your feelings matter to me. If you would say it to an elevator that you hit, or an elevator, a stranger you hit in the elevator, which is one of the examples in the book. If you're getting off the elevator and you accidentally hit somebody, you would say, I'm sorry. So if you can do it to a total stranger, why would you not say it to those that are closest to you? Expressing regret is not. It is not just trying to get the other person to stop saying they are hurt or to shut them up. It is about truly being sorry for what you have done. It is not about making excuses for your actions. You know, sometimes we'll say, I'm sorry, but, you know, you did da-da-da-da. And so, therefore, this really isn't my fault. But I'm sorry that you're offended. That's not an apology. It's not an apology if you're trying to make the other person apologize because you apologize. There are situations where maybe that is needed, where both people need to apologize because both people were wrong. Victoria, stop. But there are also situations where one is clearly right and one is clearly wrong. And if the person who is wrong is trying to make the one that is right apologize, then that's a problem. And even if you both should apologize, your apology should not depend on the other person's apology. It shouldn't. No. If your apology is sincere, it will not depend on the other person's apology. Have you ever? There are some questions at the end of chapters. One of them for this chapter, is, have you ever hurt someone without realizing it? And what did you do when you became aware that you hurt someone? What would most people say they are looking for in an apology? Apology language 2. I was wrong. Accepting responsibility. You'll find that each language kind of builds upon the other, or the ones before it. This one, not only does the person want you to express regret for their hurt, but they want you to take responsibility for it as well. Don't just say, I'm sorry, and walk away. They want you to acknowledge that you were wrong. If one person lashes out at another in anger with hurtful words, that is wrong. So when that person apologizes to someone with this love language, they should say, I'm sorry, I was wrong for lashing out at you. I'm sorry, I was wrong for hurting you. You are accepting responsibility for your actions with this love language. Gary Chapman states that in the book that one young lady had told her dad, or had said that her dad always told her, all of us make mistakes, but the only mistake that will destroy you is the one that you are unwilling to admit. And I thought that was kind of powerful, which is why I included it in here. So Gary Chapman mentions a method in his chapter. And of course, I always recommend that you read the book or you listen to it on an audiobook. They do have an audiobook version. And it's really good, audio version. The way the people speak, it's not monotone, and it's not super slow to put you to sleep. It's actually a really good audiobook. So I do recommend it. And I recommend that you listen to it because they use some really good examples in this book. I'm not going to go into their examples exactly because it's their book. But he does mention one of the, an agree-disagree method in his book, which says, I agree that I have a right to feel hurt, frustrated, disappointed, or whatever my feelings are at this point. But I disagree that because of my feelings, I have the right to hurt someone else with my words or behavior. We like to say hurt people. But hurt people don't have to hurt other people. They usually end up hurting other people because of their hurt. And we say hurt people, and healed people, heal people. But you don't have the right just because you're hurt to hurt somebody else. So if you have hurt somebody because you were hurt, you should admit that you were wrong. I do this to Vincent Gregory all the time. There are times when I'll be frustrated with various things that are going on. It might be work. It might be even something that he or Victoria have done. It might be something that Vincent has done. It might be something dealing with family or whatever it may be. The car, the house, whatever. Something that's frustrating me. And then Vincent Gregory will do something and it will just add to the frustration. And I will lash out at him. Well, that's not right for me to lash out at him. So I will come to him later when I've cooled down from everything and say, I'm sorry I lashed out at you. That was wrong of me to lash out at you. Will you forgive me? And at that point, he has a decision to make on whether or not he'll forgive me. Now, usually he'll say yes, but which is a good thing. The boy has learned how to forgive. And that's one thing that children are excellent at. Children will forgive you and then move on like nothing ever happened. As adults, we don't do that so much. Usually because the offenses that we've taken in as adults are far worse than those of a child. You know, as an adult, if you yell at me, it's not a big deal to me, but it's a big deal to the child. But if you steal from me as an adult, that's a whole different ballgame. Now, you might apologize to me, and you might even make the restitution of it, which we'll get to the next chapter, but you might even do that. But our relationship will never be the same, because I don't know that I can trust you around any of my stuff anymore. So there are those situations as an adult that we find ourselves in. Since nobody's online, I'm not gonna go through the questions. If other people were online, I would go through these questions, and maybe we could have some dialogue on the chat. But that's okay. All is well. Apology language 3. How can I make it right? Or making restitution. The idea of making things right is, of course, embedded in our society. If Victoria steals Vincent Gregory's tablet, either myself or Vincent are going to make her return it and say that she's sorry for taking it. If a criminal steals from someone, a judge may order him to repay his victim in some way. It's the idea of giving back to a rightful owner, or a giving of something as an equivalent for what has been lost, damaged, etc. Give me 1 second, everybody. Okay, you want to do it? Okay, here we go. Here, hold on. I think you still have, oh no, you're right.
I did it.
Yes, you did it. Now I need to find, where's your cap, sweetie? Where's the cap to the, go find the cap to the bottle. Okay, so, anyway, restitution is also giving of something as an equivalent for what has been lost, damaged, etc. For someone with this apology language, it is not enough to say it was not right of me to treat you that way, or I was wrong to treat you that way. This person wants to know, what are you going to do to show me that you still love me, or to show me that you still care? So this one, you want to say, you know, what can I do to make it right? Huh?
I don't know.
Okay. Excuse me, everybody. Sorry. Here. Making restitution could also use the 5 love languages. So that's why it's best when you teach something like the apology languages to go back first and teach on the 5 love languages, because they can be used to make restitution. So, like last night I used Vincent as an example because he's a words of affirmation person. So one way I may say to him is, I'm sorry I hurt you. You are a wonderful father. You are a wonderful husband. You know, you are important to me. And that would be a word of affirmation as making restitution. Acts of service, of course, these are the people where actions speak louder than words. So an example would be if we're arguing about cleaning the house, and Vincent says to me, you know, I need you to make sure that the kids don't leave their stuff in the living room, then, and if I do that, and then I come back and I say, I'm sorry, somebody with an active service, if his love language were an active service, it would be, okay, well, let me clean the house. Let me not just throw away the kids' stuff, but let me vacuum. Let me do the laundry. Let me show you that you are important to me and that I'm going to make this right. Gifts. It's the thought that counts. Yes, but it's for these people, it's the gifts that come from those thoughts. For me, it's if, you know, when I go to the to the gas station, if I'm getting a Coke Zero, I might get a Pepsi for Vincent, or I might get him a Honey Bun or something like that, because I know that he really likes those things. So even though his love language isn't gifts, one of mine is actually it tied for second place with acts of service. But with the gifts, it's thinking of somebody, and it lets the other person know, hey, I was thinking of you, and so here I got you something. But in this case, with making restitution, it might be something that they really, really like. Last night we talked about somebody who really loved chicken wings, and so his wife would bring him chicken wings as part of a restitution. You know, if she did something wrong, she would say she's sorry and bring a 12-pack of chicken wings. You know, to say she was sorry. You know, this is where you see in the movies, you know, if a man's trying to say he's sorry to a woman, he'll bring her flowers as a way of making restitution. And yeah, so that's what's happening here. Quality time. Quality time is no distractions, no phone, no TV, no paying bills. Take the person out to lunch or sit down with them at home and just focus on them and tell them that you're sorry, you know, and you're spending time with them, and that is, if that's their love language, then you want to give that person your undivided attention while you're making the apology. Physical touch, which is my main love language, is a hug. You know, if we've argued and you're telling me you're sorry, then a hug afterwards is you know, a way of making restitution with me. So some things to ask would be like, is there anything I can do to make up for what I've done? What would you consider appropriate? Some questions to ask would be that. And then apology language 4 is I'll take steps to prevent a reoccurrence. Planned change. Now this is the one that normally, you know, you think of somebody who's on drugs or drinks or something like that, and when they go into that mind-altering state, they can become abusive or something. And then you think they may try to make restitution by just bringing their spouse flowers, or by bringing, you know, somebody roses or candy or something, but it's never enough, because you get tired of that after a while, and it's like, okay, so what are you going to do to change? You know, we used an example last night, which was kind of funny, of if somebody threw out your food in the refrigerator because they thought it was old, and it turned out not to be. You had just bought it that day, but for whatever reason they thought it was old. Maybe it was just the way it looked or something. This one is where you say, where I'm sorry doesn't help. giving them another thing of food, of the same food. Like if we threw out Qdoba, going to Qdoba and getting another thing that they had is not going to make it. It's not going to make it right. What's going to make it right is saying, okay, how can we prevent this from happening again? And maybe what you do is you buy some clear containers and you get some masking tape and you put the masking tape on the lid, write the date on it, and you can clearly see what's in it. So that way you can see whether it's yours or not. You know, you can see what's happening with it. So maybe that's a way to make restitution in this case. The person who's drinking or whatever or on drugs could go to rehab. That would be a way to speak this person's apology language, not love language, apology language. If the person who drinks or on drugs and is abusive, eventually the victim of that abuse is going to say, I don't believe you're sincere with your apology. How you can show me that you're sincere is by getting help, going to rehab, starting a program, you know, so that way we can work on this together, and that is planned change. It begins with intent to prevent a recurrence. I will decide that I change. You will decide when you change. And it is the decision to change that shows that something is substantial in our statement. We are no longer making excuses for harmful actions or words. So, at this point, you've made a plan to change, but nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. So even though you made a plan to change, old habits die hard. And people may go back to their old habit here and there. Hold on, sweetie, okay? Yeah, I see it. Thank you. People may go back to their old habits here and there. And they may want to change, and you may see even the smallest change. If you do, encourage them. Help them to know what is, sorry, something was going on outside. Help them to know what is going on. I mean, not what's going on, sorry. Help them to know that they are encouraged, that they will be whatchamacallit. I'm sorry, I think I have somebody at my door. Give me one moment.
Oh, no.
I'm in the middle of something right now. Oh no, I'm good, thank you. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so nobody is perfect, and when they do take their when they do make their plan, they may do their regular thing from it. You know, don't worry about it, sweetie. It was just a salesman, okay? So they may do it again, but there is a plan in place on how to change. There is a way, and you need to encourage them when you do see change, so they continue to do the change. Apology language 5. This is the one that builds on top of all the others. Expressing regret isn't enough. Saying I'm wrong isn't enough. Making restitution isn't enough. Even plan change isn't enough. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Requesting forgiveness. There are people out there who, even though you may have apologized over and over and over and over again, they will not accept your apology unless you have requested forgiveness from them. will you forgive me? I'm sorry I did ABC, XYZ. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Will you forgive me? Can I, what can I do to make this up to you? And then will you forgive me right after it? Because they don't really care about making it up to you. Their thing is, I want you to admit, because if you admit if you ask for forgiveness, it puts you in a vulnerable state. And they want you to be that vulnerable because they feel like if you've put me in that position, then I want to put you in that position. And I want you to feel how I felt. So those are the 5 apology languages. Again, we did the conversation last night, and people went a little bit deeper because of the fact that we weren't on Facebook. So, excuse me, I apologize that you're not getting the conversation tonight. But I hope that you were able to get something from this, and that you were able to take something from this. Now, if you would like the book, like I said, you can buy it at any bookstore, you can buy it online, you can even buy an audiobook and listen to it. There's plenty of audiobook apps out there that I'm sure iPhone has one, I know Google has one, I know Amazon has one. So there's plenty of audiobooks out there, audiobook apps, and you can download these audiobooks. I do recommend this book. I do recommend that you also take the test. There is a test out there. For those of you who go to TKC who would like a copy of this test, just let me know. And okay, hold on. The test. I can email it to you. Otherwise, you can go online as well and find it for yourself. The test is out there. It's actually a really neat test. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the person who is requesting forgiveness. I mean, of the person who is looking for the apology. Okay, Victoria. So, that's all for tonight. May God bless you, and like I said, I highly recommend the book and the test. Have a great day, and if you would like to see meet us at service, you can meet us at 3091 South Honey Creek Road in Greenwood, Indiana, on Sundays at 10:30 in the morning. We do have Sunday school starting this week on Saturday at 9:30. Yes, Sunday school has been moved to Saturday. It's adult Christian education on Saturday. And it will be from 9:30 to 10. So if you need a little word on Saturdays, join us on Facebook Live. Also, on Wednesdays at 6:30, we are usually at Donato's off of West 86th Street and Ditch Road. It's 1485 or 1465 West 86th Street. You can't miss it. If you're on the 86th Street and you look over, you will see the Donato's. We are usually in their party room. They have been under construction the last couple of weeks, so hopefully next week we'll be back in the party room. But that is all I have for you tonight, and may God bless you, and